we are getting ready for our next presentation here. This is copy and SIGs panel. So we're going to be talking about koha-US SIG groups and meet our leaders. And Bob is actually going to be moderating this panel. So hang in there while we gather.
Oh, gather over here on camera. Yeah, we'll be. We have Heather joining us online. Do you want to try to talk, Heather?
Okay, is it working?
Yes.
We can hear you. Great. Okay, Lucas, would you like to join us? All right.
Except we still have that.
No, we still have that. Yeah.
Yeah, you need to be able to show the speaker.
There we go. Except for we're gonna do this. There's Heather. All right.
Hi, Heather.
All right, so what we're going to do is I've just got a few questions for the SIGs, just to get you a little bit more familiar with what goes on there. So the SIG leaders are up here, and I also have lead a SIG. It's the consortia SIG. So my first question is,
Well, introductions first.
well, we'll have them introduce them as they go. So I'm going to briefly describe what my SIG covers, and it's pretty self-explanatory. If you're multi-branch in Koha, things are a little different. We just heard a little bit about how all the template toolkit and needing to figure out which how transfers work. That's something if you're a standalone library you don't deal with. So we talk about those type of issues in that. So now I'm going to turn it over to Andrew to introduce and talk a little bit about what your SIG is.
Hi, I'm Andrew Christie Henry from the Dubuque County Library District in, well, I guess the library's in Asbury, Iowa. Okay, anyway, hi, I run the System Administrator and Reports SIG, where we talk about anything that lives in the admin module and also about SQL. It's very wide range. I was looking back through notes to try to think of like fun examples of what we talk about, and it's all over the place. Basically, if you're confused about a system preference, let's come be confused together. Or anything else that lives in that. There's a lot of junk in there. and then when we get tired of that, we go work on SQL queries instead. That's more fun for me. I don't know if everyone else feels the same. All right, that's me then.
All right, so I'm John Frederick from the Colorado Library Consortium, and me and Lauren Denny here, we run the circulation SIG, and we dig into those circulation rules, those crazy tables. So you know, making sure everything balances out and gets to where it needs to go. So pretty self-explanatory. It often gets into cataloging questions and stuff, but yeah, we work it out.
I'm Lucas. I run the web development SIG, which is a pretty informal group. Jason mentioned it yesterday. It's usually just Jason, Barbara, and I. CSS, JavaScript show off the things we've done, and we'd love to have more people to join us.
All right, and then Heather, you want to go?
I'm Heather Hernandez, Technical Services Librarian at San Francisco Maritime National Historical Park Research Center. We're a museum library, very special. And I run the cataloging SIG. We pretty much talk about everything else. We call it the cataloging SIG just because I like to get the word cataloging out there. It's like, remind people it happens. We make we talk about anything related to making records, importing records, modifying records, bibliographic items, authorities. We will also talk about serials. We talk about technical services, which, as you all know, is pretty much everything else. So if you don't know what your question, issue, workflow might be related to, bring it to us. And we will pretty much talk about anything. And a lot of the times we all sit there looking at each other, shrugging, saying we don't know, but someone in the group will have an idea of where else you can take the question, usually to one of the other wonderful SIG leaders. So that's what we do. That's who I am.
We also have an acquisition SIG, and the presentation yesterday kind of talked about that. Rhonda Pepperly's that, and she's not currently here. So I do want to ask because I think sometimes I do hear this, that the SIGs may seem like people are going to be talking about stuff you've never heard of, and it's not going to be a good use of your time. So what would you say to someone that's not attended a SIG to make them feel a little bit more comfortable that it is actually an accessible group and you don't have to be an expert?
All right, well, yeah, I was pretty nervous getting started, pretty new to the koha community, so I'm like, do I have anything to add to this stuff? But it's great because the spectrum of experience is all over the place, and everyone has their nuggets of information. So even if you don't know exactly what everyone's talking about, you might have that little piece to throw in to finish the cycle or something.
For us, I'd say web dev SIG, you do not have to be a web developer to get on. So we share a lot of the code that we write, the CSS and things, change our step line, change our OPAC. And if you can pick up on a lot of those things. We talk about some of the bugs or the enhancements that make those things easier. So yeah.
Would your page be a good place to land now with all these new pages that you can create in Koha now too?
Which page?
All the custom pages that you can do in Koha?
You mean snippets and stuff?
Yes.
But that's not a bad idea. I would say in this fifth admin SIG, we hide behind polls. We're really well stocked on a core group of people who have a lot of good experience. If we're hurting for something in the SIG, it's for people to come in and ask questions and give us things to talk about. I start every meeting by saying we have no agenda. If you don't have questions, we're going to stare at each other. And sometimes we sit there and stare at each other because no one has questions. So please come ask us questions.
So I in the consortia SIG, I will say that we went from it being just Jason and I, not even 3 people meeting, and then we went down to a meeting every other month, but that it has grown and people are showing up. So now we're going to do a monthly meeting with that, and it's fantastic. Sometimes we get into a lot of discussions about more advanced stuff, and sometimes people just show up and have a lot of questions, and there's a good variety of knowledge there that we can try to answer those or direct people to where they can get that. Heather?
I'd say too that this is probably the safest, easiest way to get questions and issues answered or talk about. You don't even have to come to the meeting. You could send your questions, issues, workflow, musings ahead of time, and we will talk about it and put it in the recording. You could also attend with your camera off. You don't have to put your real name in. You could put Melville Dewey. You could even ask who Melville Dewey is, and we'll let you know.
All right, so my next question is if you can think of a memorable discussion that happened in one of your SIG meetings.
I have a microphone and an example. I was looking back through notes from previous meetings, and at the last one, I can't remember who, I think it might have been George, showed up and said, hey, did you all know that if you update the batch patron permissions plugin, When you update that, it updates its snippet of jQuery that it wants to put at the end of the Internet User JS system preference. And in doing so, it deletes any of your own personal jQuery that you might have put at the end of the system preference after what the plugin puts there. And like you can hear the general gasp in the room. That's an interesting thing to learn. And I don't know where else that information would have gotten disseminated. Like, it's just this weird intersection of a system preference and a plugin, and like, there's not a great place to write that down so that you all know it forever. But I think everyone who was in that room that day, like, it's burned into their heart now because they're afraid of it. And that was very useful. And I don't know what other venue you would learn that stuff in exactly.
All right, the thing that comes to mind is with the claims group. They're really active in the circulation SIG, and they recently switched to Koha, and they were having an issue, really slow checkouts. And so we were kicking around some ideas, item types and cert rules. I forget what the solution was, but we got them connected to the right people, and they had some meetings outside, like with Bob here, and got it all figured out.
I think Nick was the solution on that one.
There we go.
Well, we gave it a good attempt. We tried to help them, but then, yeah, it ended up being outside the SIG. But that's a good example of a step to where, sometimes you can get that direct help. Somebody knows the answer, and sometimes it at least eliminates some of the possibilities. So then you can hone in on a different solution.
So I remember that discussion, and some of it was just other people going, "Oh yeah, I've noticed that too." I'm unsupported, so I kind of can't do anything about it. But people who are Blackwater customers could all go, "Oh, I have that too," and now they could all start chattering on the Bywater site. Hey, I have this problem. So now Bywater knows more than one person has the problem. And then it brings it to their attention, and now they can kind of like figure out what's wrong. I think that's kind of how it was solved.
We have memorable experiences every single month.
That's it.
Nothing notable, just memorable.
Free beer if you bring it.
I think for me, it's the laughter. However much you've been laughing right now is how much we laugh during the SIG meetings. And I think people learn and are more creative about their ideas when they're laughing and relaxed and enjoying themselves. And my other most memorable experiences is there's usually somebody who knows how to do something that someone wants to know about, and we will share our screens, and we will fumble through it together. So if you want to know about anything, come to our SIG and we will give it a try together. Also, we will go into Bugzilla. We will also, I've contributed to the documentation as a newbie. Want to contribute to the documentation? We'll help you try. And we may, steer it towards cataloging, but we're there to learn together. And that's my most fun moments, is learning together. And someone who will always say, "Oh, I didn't know you could do that."
Yeah, in the consortia SIG, we talk a lot about holds. There's so many different ways to do that when you're multi-branch, and we all have different approaches because of different needs. So that is a recurring topic, trying to figure out a way to make that work better for everyone without making it so it only works well for one group. And that's kind of an important, those discussions are really important, because then if we're individually approaching a developer like Bywater and saying, "I want it to work this exact way," we know that they're going to have to go, "Okay, well, there are other people using this, so we need, this isn't just going to go exactly the way you want it. We need to have a broader conversation." So that is a place where we have that broader conversation. So that's one example of something we talk about, but like Heather mentioned, there's really anybody can show up and talk about anything at any of these SIGs. We have different topic areas and stuff like that, but it's really just a group of people trying to learn from each other, trying to figure things out, experiment. And so I would, yeah, so it's a great place for that. I am curious for those in the room, how many have attended a SIG meeting? So that's pretty good, actually. If you didn't see online, we had, I'd say about half the people in attendance here are doing it. And so, yeah, that's fantastic. And if you haven't attended, I hope you do consider it, because like Andrew mentioned, like if people aren't showing up with their questions and their ideas, it's remote, you know, at your office or at home, staring at other people in their office or home, which, you know, isn't super productive. So so the more people, the better, for sure. I think, does anybody else have any thoughts or on something they wanted to share about their SIG before we close out? We have just a couple minutes left.
Oh, Heather.
Heather, yes, go ahead.
I would say also that we are based in the US, but we're not limited to the US. We do all share Mark 21, but Mark 21 is international, koha is international. So I've enjoyed very much having the international participation and also perspectives. It broadens our world. So don't feel you have to be in the US to come.
Okay, I think that'll conclude the panel discussion. So I hope you check out some of our SIGs. It's kind of that low hanging fruit of just showing up, and just even if you're just listening in, eventually some of this stuff will come on a topic that's of interest to you. So at least show up and listen in, and you'd be surprised probably how quickly you can contribute.
Can you pull up the website and show people where?
Sure.
I was just going to ask, is there a way to see recordings of these events from the past?
There is. It will take me a second to get that up. All right, here is the website.
Nope.
Nope. I think it's showing for the online people. I'll just reshare and drag this over. Let's do that again. There we go.
Where's the mouse?
There's the website. And we have special interest groups under the share part appropriately. As was mentioned, we do record the meetings. So you can see there's just some recent recordings on this. So you could go back and catch up on some of those discussions. And there's all our smiling faces up there. So if I don't think we have a vacant spot here for the demonstration special interest group. We have a demo site. So if anybody wants to take that on and talk about how we can use our demonstration koha site, then that is an opening that we do have.
Keep going.
Keep going.
Yeah. All right, perfect. Yeah. And then where can we find the library of videos? YouTube.com
YouTube.
slash
YouTube.
koha-US.
Okay, so yes, you can find us, if you're watching online, you have found our YouTube channel, so you can find more videos there. This concludes the presentation.